Hi, I'm Rabbi Rachel Greengrass from Temple Beth, the current president of the Rabbinical Association, and I'm excited to share with you some thoughts about Parashat Bo. Parashat Bo is an exciting Torah portion in that we get the last of the plagues. Pharaoh finally says that we are allowed to go forward and leave Egypt, of course changing his mind later. But there's a troubling line, or two, or seven, that occur in our Torah portion, which is this line about God hardening Pharaoh's heart. So it seems as though Pharaoh is willing to let the Jewish people go, especially right before the plague of locusts, which is the first plague in our Torah reading. Even Pharaoh's advisor saying, this is terrible, this mayhem that keeps coming. Just get rid of these Hebrew slaves. What do we need them for? But it says that God hardened Pharaoh's heart. Now, if you read the story of the Exodus and this encounter between Moses and Pharaoh, what you see is that 20 times the Torah says that Pharaoh's heart was hardened. The first 10 times occur during the first 5 plagues. And in these instances, it says that Pharaoh hardened his own heart. The next 10 set happens during the last 5 plagues, and in those it says God hardens Pharaoh's heart. So what is going on here? I'll tell you that in the Talmud, Rabbi Yochanan is very concerned with what we see here, saying, well, if God is hardening Pharaoh's heart, then Pharaoh has no free will. And how is that okay? How is that possible? Because as Jews, we very much believe in free will. His friend, Reish Lakish, points out that God warned Pharaoh those first 5 times with those first 5 plagues, but that Pharaoh kept making bad choices, one after the other. And so eventually, he wasn't making a choice anymore, but he brought the plagues and the consequences of them upon himself. So what is going on? I think I want to share with you some words from the psychologist Erich Fromm. He notes what is going on with Pharaoh and knows psychology and says, when you make a bad decision, at first, you might say, it's not that bad. I'm just pushing the limits a little. But once you make that first step down a bad road, it's much easier to make the second and the third and the fourth. And once you start climbing, it only can escalate and get worse. And I think that we're seeing that in our society, where we are pushing apart and then really demonizing each other. And we saw, with the insurrection and the riots on the Capitol, how taking a few steps down a dark road led to a very dark path. But we all do this. We all make bad decisions. And we read mitzvah goreret mitzvah. If you do something good, it leads to doing more good. And avera goreret avera. A sin leads to more sins. And that's precisely what's happening here with Pharaoh. He kept making bad decisions at first, but then the more he had invested in those bad decisions and those consequences, he couldn't go back. He couldn't right himself. And eventually, it was as if he had no free will anymore. He was too far in. So what do we learn from this? We learn from this that yes, we all make mistakes. Of course, we all make mistakes. But that we shouldn't allow that to perpetuate. Once you make a bad step, don't keep going down that road. Don't harden your heart. Let your heart be open. If you've hurt someone, if you've hurt somebody's feelings, absorb it and let it make you change your ways and make you a better person. May we all have soft, open, loving hearts. Shabbat Shalom.